Joining me now by phone is CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman, who covered every O.J. Simpson case. Rikki, what do you make of O.J. Simpson's very quiet prison release? Was this intentional?
Well, it's certainly intentional on the part of the correctional system in Nevada. What they decided was they did not want to have a media scrum. They did not want to have paparazzi following O.J. Simpson, and really what they were looking at is public safety, both Mr. Simpson's safety and the safety of the public and the media. You have to admit that although as a member of the media we would have liked to have been there, but it was very clever on the part of the prison and parole system in order to avoid a media circus.
Well, what does the former football star have to avoid now that he's free in order to prevent any kind of parole violation?
Well, O.J. Simpson is, in essence, a marked man. O.J. Simpson has to, of course, be law-abiding. He cannot afford to do things that much of the public would do, and that means he certainly, if he's going to have a drink, should never get behind the wheel of a car, even if he had had a couple of sips of a beer or a glass of wine. He is someone who cannot afford the slightest infraction. The parole board at the hearing during the summer was very clear with Mr. Simpson that they don't want to see him back, but if in fact he violates, he's going back in. We have to remember he was sentenced to 9 to 33 years, so that looming number of 33 is still out there. Do I believe for a simple infraction that he would go and be in for the whole 33? Of course not, but he does have to be careful. Elaine, I'd say this too, and I think it's probably the most critical thing for Mr. Simpson. O.J. Simpson, when I say he's going to be a marked man, what I mean by that is this. There are people out there who really, really would like to see him back in prison. And they may create a situation which is very tempting to him to do something without thinking. The easiest example I can give you is someone who would like their own 15 minutes of fame, who might want to ask O.J. Simpson for a selfie. Put the camera right in front of the two of them, give him a little shove too hard, with the hope that Mr. Simpson would lash out with a punch and therefore an assault. That's a serious infraction. The other thing that O.J. Simpson has to watch out for is a woman who might want to put him into a compromising situation, and if so, then say she was assaulted. I would say for Mr. Simpson's sake, I hope that neither of these things happen, and if Mr. Simpson violates, he should violate of his own volition and be punished for his own actions rather than because he was goaded, tempted, or pushed into a violation.
It's a really good point. Well, O.J. has indicated that he wants to move back to Florida, but the state's Attorney General Pam Bondi is opposed to that. She claims he poses a safety risk. Can she prevent him from moving to Florida?
Not exactly. What Ms. Biondi, Attorney General Biondi, wrote in her issues of not having Mr. Simpson come to Florida is in addition to the fact that although he was acquitted of the murders of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman, that he was found civilly liable and that he has an outstanding judgment. She also mentioned the fact that he has this minor conviction for speeding in a powerboat in a protected manatee area. I think that neither of those in and of themselves, and the general complaint that she doesn't want someone who is as notorious and perhaps criminally prone as she believes O.J. Simpson is, that she doesn't want him in the state of Florida. The reality is that if the state of Nevada certifies that O.J. Simpson has met all of the criteria for the interstate agreement with Florida, Florida must accept him. So the real matter here is between the state of Nevada and the state of Florida. We will see what ultimately comes of it. There's a lot of people who say, well, he really wants to move to Florida because, of course, he gets that great homestead exemption. No one could levy on his house. He owes a judgment of some $33 million to the Goldman and Brown families. But the reality is that I think if he really wants to go, and he has, of course, his daughter, his eldest daughter, who has supported him throughout, who was there at his parole hearing, that he would likely be granted permission to go.
All right, still tremendous interest in this case. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman. Rikki, thanks so much for your insight.
Thank you, Elaine.